everybody, and welcome back to my channel. So, today I got a doozy for you. A doozy. So I want to talk about Mr. Chris Hansen, okay? We're going to look at a certain video real quick. So, he had this guy, Mr. Westmost, on his channel. We're just going to play the video real quick.
And
So,
talented guys creating content on YouTube today. He's funny, he's smart, he writes well, he comes up with creative story ideas, and we've collaborated before, as you probably know. He's joining me again tonight because he's been the target of the most bizarre case of harassment, and he, through no fault of his own.
So, here's our good old buddy, Chris Hansen, promoting this guy, Westmost, Mr. Westmost, and he's gonna tell you a little story.
Has been entangled in this legal nightmare involving another content creator named Muse. And we'll explain all that in a minute. We talked about this once before, but the case has just taken another bizarre turn. So I wanted to have Wes on again. It's always a pleasure. Westmost, thanks for having a seat with me tonight. How are you?
Good, Chris. Thanks for having me on again.
If you don't know, Wes doesn't show his face. He has a cartoon character face that he uses in some of his
I wonder why that is, but let's go.
Content, but he doesn't because of his job, and that's fine because his voice is strong. Wes, Muse, back up for me and the viewers on this channel and explain.
So I'm gonna go ahead and make a long story short. This guy was Mose, met someone online. He invited her over to her house. Well, it turns out the girl's kind of like a pathological liar. She didn't have all these diseases. She does what a lot of weirdos do online and fake things and play the sympathy card and pretty much an e-girl, so to speak. He invited this girl, this stranger girl, Muse, to his home with his child. And that being said, okay, whether she lied or anything else like that, she decided apparently to call the cops and say she got sex trafficked by him. I think there was an accusation of drugs. I'm not sure. That's the gist of what he's saying. Okay, now whether those accusations are true or false or anything else, my one question is, why on earth did this man, Mr. Westmost, send and move over a woman that he met online to his home? I don't know about you, but I see a red flag right there. So now I'm going to move forward, okay? Because I listened to his side, and Lord have mercy, this video is very, very convincing. It's so convincing, I was like, wow, damn, that's pretty messed up of this woman to do to another guy. I mean, the Me Too stuff, you know, it's running crazy all over the internet. You don't know who's telling the truth and who's being fake. That being said, I decided to do my own digging. And when I did, I found this guy, the YouTube schizophrenic, okay? And then there's some other guy by the name of Roger Brown or something like that that's also covering some of this. So I just stumbled onto this video and I'd like to go over it with you guys. So let's hear it.
Hello, everybody. Today, my guest is someone from Westmost. Like, no, this is not someone who has a social media.
We're gonna go a little forward here because he's a jibber jabber.
quick. Read it all. You are partnering with a legit crazy person to try and slander
Now this is from westmost. He's sending it to her.
me online. Now that's interesting. Their go-to move is to call me crazy. That's how you know you're winning. You know that I'm not a predator. I didn't traffic anyone, and I don't harass people. If anything, I do the complete opposite and cut all ties. I don't care if you tell your story, in quotation, but just know I have one to tell too. Me refusing to be your boyfriend and asking you to fuck off after your many outbursts and uninvited drop-ins at my house.
See how he's doing this? He's switching it around on her. This is what, how do they say, a narcissist does. I know because my ex was one of these. Let's go on.
Is not against the law or indicative of predatory behavior, FYI. I have months and months of texts, emails, poetry, etc. after I told you to leave me alone many times. It was harassment. And it doesn't make me look bad. It makes you look like you couldn't let go. If you were going to claim I was abusive, you were going to have a hard time explaining. That is why the police arrested you. Because you wouldn't fucking stop. We'll pop up the other one here. If it's attention you were looking for, though, I got you. And doxing me on a Chris Hansen video is a bad idea. Really, really bad idea. The one thing I notice about this message is it starts off almost like pleading in a way, and then it kind of devolves into threats. Like with the police again. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, well, there's a few things, but we'll get to it. I definitely can relate to being called a crazy person. That seems to be a word that people try to use to put you down.
Yeah.
I can relate with that too, girl.
Yeah, and I know in the internet world, at least in this particular sphere, if you type a lot, I've noticed that. If you type a lot, you somehow seem crazier, especially if they put voices on you. And there's ways they can manipulate that to make you seem like you're completely nuts just because you type a lot.
I type a lot. I do.
But all right, so now we've covered that part that you were contacted independently.
Yeah. I mean, I know. I mean, I'm sure you're gonna have.
So go ahead and listen to this. Now remember, the Muse girl, the other girl that Wes was talking about before, not this girl, was contacted online. Okay, now listen to this.
Questions and all of that, especially, showing up at his house uninvited, but
yeah, we'll just go in order. So like how did you meet westmost?
Good question. Okay, so I had first moved to Washington 3 years ago. He had an ad on Craigslist. He was looking for someone to work with him while he did these YouTube videos where
Sound familiar?
he would catch cheaters. He would pretend to be a female online. He would bait these married men. We would meet up to meet them. He would have a video camera out and he would turn it into like this game show. He ended up getting sued.
Yes.
Yeah.
Muse Talk had told me something about this. Like he ended up getting sued because it's entrapment, basically, right?
Yes. This is something that him and his ex-wife had done that he told me in confidence as well. So he's not, this isn't new to him.
Yeah, I'm not in contact with his ex-wife yet, so I can't comment on that. So this is something he does, this is just something he finds acceptable to do?
Yes, he did that with me, and then these men would think that they were meeting up with me. They'd sit with me. He would come by, and then, he'd be like, hey, you've been cheater popped. And, yeah. He was cool. Like, I mean, I didn't have any. He would give me, like, $50 for like, an hour's worth of work. And he was nice. It got me out of the house. When I had met him, I was actually just involving myself in a toxic environment of people who.
And that's typical of a narcissist to do. They'll look for someone who is a victim of an abuse situation or anything like that. This is what predators do. They look for weaker people.
Didn't help me, but misery loves company, and I was going where that was. I was stupid, but it was nice to have. And then we lost contact, and we met up again. He contacted me last October.
Well, how did his lawsuit end up? Just out of curiosity.
Over that thing with us that happened recent.
Yeah.
Oh, so okay, that happened after I had met with him this last October.
Yeah,
but
he was like
drop,
right?
Hmm?
He was entrapping people with women. So I was just curious, how did that end up for him? Like, how did that lawsuit turn out?
He ended up having to owe a lot of money. I remember that. I don't remember the specifics though.
Did you hear anything about another YouTuber perhaps giving him money to bail him out? Anything related to that?
No, I didn't hear anything about that.
Okay.
And this stuff here isn't really relevant, but I'm trying to get to the meat and potatoes.
I was just curious. That was something I had a rumor I had been told.
I know that he's gone back and forth with the court system and a few other people. I know I'm not the first person, and I know Muse isn't either.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I think he's admitted that already. I've played footage of him talking about that.
But it's not him. It's everyone else.
Yeah. So okay, you meet up with him to do this entrapment scheme. Okay, and then you lose contact.
Mm-hmm.
Right. All right. Yes. And what happens after that?
So he contacted me on Facebook last October. I didn't remember who he was at first because too much stuff had happened. So I'm like, who are you? He said, oh, no, it totally makes sense. I only did a YouTube show with you, Cheater Pop. He made a reference to that. So he was being sarcastic, funny. And I was like, oh, haha. And he ended up trying to ask me on a date. And I was like, I don't date. I don't trust people. And there's a big, good reason for it. I love you. But, yeah. Sorry, I lost focus. This is not my favorite subject.
Yeah. So after you all reconnected, like how did things go from there? He messaged you on Facebook. So how did like a relationship form from there?
So that's where it's kind of tricky. I wasn't ready to date. I was just enrolled in school. I had already had terrible relationship issues. I had already been dealing with people who just don't treat women nice. So I told him all of this. We hung out a few times. The first night we hung out, I ended up getting really drunk. He ended up leaving me at my apartment, and nothing. He didn't sleep with me. I can't remember if that was the night I did Molly. I remember almost every single time I hung out with him, Molly was involved. So.
Oh, wow.
So the drug thing, going back to it, is actually relevant.
Every time you met with him, like he was giving you drugs?
Well, that sounds really bad, but like at his house, he had this container of Molly, and I'd say at least 3 or 4 times I did it. Is that how you call it? I did it.
Yeah. So he's a huge container of Molly at his house.
Like a little pill container.
Okay, so it's not
like he's got a mountain sitting on a table.
Okay, he's not a drug kingpin at least.
No.
Okay.
Well, not that I know. We don't know.
Not that we know of. Yes.
Sorry. Sorry.
Okay.
That's sad. So he's meeting these women online, and he's literally drugging them up. So this kind of going on with what Muse said happened to her. Let's continue.
So, like, you meet up like in person again. Oh, we lost them.
Not text them. I'm so sorry.
You probably hit the button. You're good.
I did.
Okay.
So we would hang out. It would usually be at his house. The first or second night, he was already talking about dominant, submissive dynamics, lifestyles. And
Again, something Muse mentioned.
I remember mentioning when I had been on Molly, like, I have trust issues. Like, you're telling me that he told me he had always liked me. He had always been interested in me. He had been married at the time and then got divorced in October. And then that's when he hit me up. And me loving to miss red flags, like, that's over my head.
Yeah. So, is this around the time he? You said that before he had mentioned having sociopathic tendencies. That he'd mentioned this. Did you mention this text message or via
So
speaking?
he mentioned this through text message. And while you bring that up, so this was between October and maybe December/January. I'd say at least once a month he would be ghosting me and then, resorting to text messaging, and he won't answer his phone. What? Oh,
Yeah.
he wouldn't answer his phone, and he just started kind of labeling me things to go. I don't want to. I get ADD, and I. This is not my. I'm sorry.
It's okay. To add on to the whole thing where he was like, you say like he was kind of compelling you to do text message communication, right?
Yeah, he just wouldn't answer his phone.
I want to say that in his video about Muse Talks, he mentions this. He mentions that he didn't trust people and that he was communicating primarily through text message communication. That seems to be what he does. If he doesn't trust you, he feels the need to document your every word and action.
Another thing that narcissistic abusers do. They do this so when you want to leave or get away from them, they have this leverage over you. Let's continue.
So
And
he
this,
can report you to the police.
but also this is what's going to cause me to not trust someone. And I've done enough research, like in relationships and psychology and talking to therapists. You don't text someone, especially if it's something important that you need to communicate. Like, that's actually a form of abuse. It's not physical, but it does it.
What did I just say? And it's isolation. Isolation. It's a way to get you to write down what you're most vulnerable with, and they can use it as a leverage over your head.
It still causes problems.
It definitely has a certain lack of humanity to go with it, but like I said, if he's bringing, like he said in his own words, he's bringing these crazy people around where his son is. These people he doesn't trust to the point where he needs to document everything they do and say. Like it just like that's insane. That is child abuse. If what he's saying is true, and you're a crazy stalker, it's child abuse to be doing that. That's the whole point of things I brought up in my videos. That his own story does not make him look very good.
Well, in that text message that I sent you, where he says, "If we do this," like, that's telling me that you're not actually in wanting a relationship with me. And also, I'm sorry, but like, you're a lot older than me, and I'm 29, and you should probably be aware that I'm not where you are at life. Like, there's a lot that goes on in this.
Wait a second. She's 29 and she's saying he's a lot older than her, and he was going after Muse, who looks like she's 14, 15. Whoa.
Probably should have just.
He seems to go after women half his age a lot too. I've noticed it.
Yeah.
And the way he acts online and anything, maybe it's just because women his own.
So, if you guys want me to make another video on this, because I don't want to stretch this out, I'm going to continue watching the rest of this. I'm not going to drag this on for another 30 minutes for you guys, but go watch the video yourself. The YouTube Schizophrenic, you can go check it out. because I don't want to steal his content, of course, But I'm going to continue watching it. I'm sure there's damning evidence. But my question right now is why in the world is our good old buddy Chris Hansen, loving Chris Hansen, that protects people from predators such as westmost, dealing with westmost? Why is he having him featured on his show, talking about how he's such a good buddy and all these other things? This is what you guys need to ask yourself when you look at Chris Hansen. Why is he working with predators when he's supposed to be protecting people from predators? Thank you again for watching my channel. I hope you guys have a great day. Peace!